Hi, welcome back to this video series on code contracts verification using Microsoft Code Contract Checker. Um, I will talk about how we can use the old value concept in the code contract tool, what it means when the contract has the keyword old value. As you can see here, I am having old value as part of my contract. What does it really mean by that? Okay, so suppose you have a simple example, very simple. You wanted to swap two elements of an array at the given index left and right respectively. So basically you wanted to move the content of left to right and right to left. Okay, so visually we can see it like this. Suppose you have an array like this, and you have values right in your array, and it could be that your left is over here, right? This is your left index and this is your right index, right? So you wanted to be able to swap these two values. Okay, that's basically what we wanted to do. How do we now check whether the program is doing what it's supposed to do? We can use the contract checker to specify what the behavior of swap is, and then we can mechanically verify the correctness. Okay, that we have been doing it for quite some time. So all right, so in this case, we need to be able to know what was the original value, right? Otherwise, we don't know whether our program swapped the values correctly. So we need to be able to find out what was the value of array at this point in time, meaning when swap is entered, what is the value of array of left, okay? And we wanted to be able to refer that value, that is nothing but old value. So that's the reason why we use contracted old value to refer to the value that was given to us when swap was called before we executed this fairly simple logic to swap two numbers of an array. Okay. All right, that's the reason the contracted old value is used. Essentially, what we are referring to is, say, we have an array like this, right? And we wanted to be able to say, here is 3, 5, 4, 9. There's some random numbers, arbitrary. And suppose I say my left is number 1, right? Index 1, and right is index 3. Okay, this is my left and right. And I wanted to be able to swap left and right. So this particular portion of the code does that. So essentially the new state will be 3, right, which we didn't change, and this becomes 9, and this is 4, and this is 5. This is basically what we want the code to do. Okay, so this portion of the code actually does that. But from a contract perspective, what are we trying to ensure to the user of the swap? We ensure to the user of the swap that the old value of left, which is in this case 5, becomes the new value of right, which is exactly this, right? So you can see here. Okay, and we say the old value of right, which is array of right, this is 9, becomes the new value, which is here. So we got both of these things specified clearly. And then of course we want some good behavior from the users of the swap also, right? We want them to behave nicely by sending us a non-empty array, and in fact more precisely not null array, and we want the left to be a number from 0 until array.length exclusive. Similarly, right should be also between 0 inclusive and below the length of the array. So that's the specification we are giving, and then we guarantee to the user that we will satisfy these two contracts. Okay, so we will swap the array elements. All right, so let's get it going now. Let's run it and see what happens. Okay, it says validated 100%. Everything seems to be working. So let's make some mistake as usual. What happens, you know, these are mistakes people make. I make definitely several times. What happens if I just get confused for some reason and I just write something very silly like this instead of, yeah, something like this. Let's see what happens now. Hopefully the contract checker is checking statically, right? These are all contracts statically checked using mathematics and formula verification techniques under the hood. So very nice. It was able to tell us that we violated the contract, right? And as you can see, these contracts are violated at line number 21, which is because I made a silly mistake here. So if I revert it, then everything seems to be working, and we can very quickly run this and check it. Okay, yes, validated 100%. But I want you to be a little bit careful here. The specification is not full-blown specification. It's kind of partial, right? What I mean by partial is that we don't really tell anything about how our code behaves. For example, we don't tell to the user, or this contract doesn't check whether, let me write it for you, an example. So we only tell to the user that, look, I guarantee that only the left and right are exchanged, right? We don't really tell that exactly. What we are saying is, we are saying your left and right are swapped, okay? Doesn't say anything about what happens to your values here, right? Whatever values you have here and whatever values you have here. Maybe you put zeros. Maybe the code is buggy and start corrupting the neighbor values. The contract won't catch that. That would require you to specify more precisely that to the left of the left, meaning everything over here, right? And to the right of the right, everything over here, they remain the same before and after the execution of swaps. That requires more precise specification, which will be more involved. So you can take it to the extreme you like. But you can make a trade-off also to have partial specifications like this, which are more manageable, easy to specify, and easy to verify statically. That's basically one of the points that I would like to mention in here in this video session. The goal of our demo here is to show to you how you can make use of the old value construction. There are some limitations on what kind of expressions can you plug into the old value. So I will point you to the Microsoft user manual of code contracts. But for my purpose, currently this seems to be reasonably okay, that I can compare the old state with the new state of the array and make contract claims that we can verify mechanically. All right, that's basically what I wanted to show to you. Thank you very much for